or what?
All right, y'all, we gotta talk. When did tipping become something you're supposed to do every single time? Because why am I grabbing my own food, walking into the counter and paying, and the screen still asking me to tip? It's like everywhere now. Coffee shops, fast food restaurants, even places where nobody is serving you. So let's talk about tipping culture, what makes sense, what doesn't, and why people are starting to feel some type of way about it. Stay with me, because this conversation needs to be had.
Black people do not tip, and I'm so sorry, but they don't. They don't tip. I'm so fucking tired of it. They love to run up a fat tab. And not just black people, people of color, Hispanic people, Asian people, black people. Not every single black person. Before everybody starts with they should pay servers more, they absolutely should. We should definitely get paid more, but we don't. And that's just the reality of it. But that does not mean you get to come sit in a restaurant, run up a fat tab, running your server around. Bro, running your server around, and not just like the normal, can you do this, can you do, no, like running your server around. If you serve, you know what I mean. I had a table, for example, it was a black family. They were very polite, very nice, and their bill was $80. They tipped me nothing, and they left, and they were very polite and kind, but your politeness and kindness is not paying my bills. You could have picked up the food to go and ate it in your raggedy ass house. I'm fed up, and it makes black people look back. When I go out to eat, I over tip. I'm irritated as fuck. Stop going out to eat if you can't afford to tip. Like, are you cool?
Child asked me why we tip in America and we don't in other countries. And so I responded by saying, do you want the short answer or the long answer? Because that's usually what I say. And they responded both, because that's usually what they say. So I said, short answer is slavery and the result thereof. And they were like, can you explain longer? And I go, yes. Imagine if you have a bunch of enslaved people and you treat them very cruelly. One of the things that enslaved and oppressed people will have to do as a survival tactic is to be polite to their masters, especially in the house, especially in things that are service oriented. Now imagine you had to free all of those enslaved people, but you didn't really want to free them and you wanted to make sure you maintain the status quo. Would you institute a system in which you paid them a fair, livable wage and just expected them to behave like decent human beings? You cannot do that because you, in your human beingness, have oppressed people with cruelty and with enslavement. And so therefore you would then institute a system in which any kind of service industry, any kind of service occupation would not be paid simply for the doing of that job with the human expectation of kindness. Instead, what you would make sure is to have a system in which they have to be polite to you in order to have a livable wage. And that you, as the oppressor, could have control over that by justifying their wage with a tip that would be dependent on how polite they were to you, so that these formerly enslaved people or future enslaved people will have to be polite to you. And they thought about that and they were like, that makes a lot of sense and is also terrible and not fair. And I said, yes, I think most other countries have figured that out by now, and hopefully America will catch up.
I'm sorry to say this, but tipping culture has gotten out of control. And I just want to preface this by saying that I always tip 20% like standards. I went to this like local, like little, it's like a burger and fry place, kind of like the local version of McDonald's. So like chicken tenders and fries, right? I get up to the pay window and she's like, how much do you want to tip? And I'm just like, what? And she's like, yeah, did you want to leave a tip? And she's like pointing to them. And I was like, oh no, not today. And then I just felt really uncomfortable. But like, homegirl, what am I going to tip you for? I'm in the fucking drive-thru. Oh my god.
American tipping culture has gone crazy. I'm from Canada, and every single time I go to a restaurant, they automatically add tip. Like, they even add like gratuity, even if there's like a party of two. On top of that, they ask for more tip. Oh god. I'm free.
Guys, I just got scammed. I didn't know they added a tip, and I tipped her like $10 extra.
You live in the U.S. Are you not used to this?
No, okay, listen, in Minnesota, they only add gratuity if it's like a party of 6 or more.
Racism is the reason tipping culture is so out of hand in the US, and it's why people can still be legally paid $2.13 an hour. After the Civil War and the end of slavery, black workers who were formerly enslaved were usually only able to get service jobs. Racist employers looking to exploit labor found a way to avoid paying black people any wages at all. They decided that customers could just tip them for their services instead of paying them themselves. From there, the use of tipping to pay workers became more and more common. Before the Civil War, tipping in the US was rare, and it definitely wasn't used to pay someone's entire wage. wage. Then in the early 1900s, a bunch of employers who wanted to keep labor costs down and prevent workers from organizing formed the National Restaurant Association. Since then, they've lobbied Congress to exclude tipped occupations from minimum wage protections and later to establish a lower sub-minimum wage for tipped workers. That's why today, the federal minimum wage for tipped employees is just $2.13 an hour. Tipped workers are 2.3 times more likely to live in poverty than non-tipped workers, and they're more likely to be people of color, women of color, or single parents. They're also disproportionately born outside of the US. Tipping is still used as a way to exploit workers, squeeze more out of customers, and keep people, especially Black and brown people, in poverty.
There is no freaking way. I just went to go get froyo, where you make it yourself. Okay, I'm sitting there with my little bowl and I put my ice cream in, and then I move over to my favorite section, the toppings, okay? And I put in some chocolate covered strawberries, some brownies, and then I move over to the little section where you have to weigh your ice cream and it gives you the total. And not gonna lie, y'all, that was some expensive froyo, but anything to make my stomach happy, of course. And so I take out my wallet, pull out my card, and I'm tapping it, and it's not working. So I was like, okay, maybe I can swipe it. I swipe it and it's still not going through. And I was low-key getting embarrassed because like there's people behind me. And the worker comes up to me and he's like, it's not going through because it's asking you to tip. I was like, oh. And he was like, press the bottom right corner. And I was like, the no tip? And he goes, yeah, we don't get those tips anyway. The owner keeps them. If we don't get paid enough. I was like, oh, but I'm just here for my froyo, okay? But like, I think it's crazy that these self-serve places are asking you to tip and the owners are keeping it. Like, that makes no sense at all.
Now, I want to know, what's your take? Is tipping culture doing too much, or should people always tip? Drop it in the comments. I already know y'all got opinions on this. And if you enjoyed this video, like it, subscribe, and share with anyone who hates feeling forced to tip. I'll catch you on the next one.